Brought to you by Bangkok Bank.
Good morning, ASEAN. Freshen up your world, your thought, and your idea with us every weekday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. You're with me, Patsurang Desha Putharangsi.
And me, Weena Jongbrasit, is Monday, the 2nd of September.
So we start off with the opposition Democrats, as they said they have demanded the government to postpone the increasing of the LPG prices, electricity, and expressway fees. Reasoning its decision contradicts the ruling party's position. The election campaign back in 2011 promised to sharply reduce the cost of living. Democrat Atwit Suwannapakdi said the Yingluck government had run the country for 2 years and the country's economic indicators have all shown negative results, such as rising public and household debt and price rises. He said the government had decided to increase the price of 3 major items yesterday that would further push up the cost of living for sure. Well, LPG has risen from 290 baht per 15 kilogram cylinder to 380 baht. Electricity prices have increased 7 stang per unit, meaning families who use about 500 units would have to pay 40 baht more each month. And the expressway toll has been increased by 5 baht per way, right, Karina?
Yes.
And he also said that today is a bad day or an unlucky day for Thai people because it is a day we must significantly shoulder higher cost of living. Atwit quoted the Thai Chamber of Commerce's Center for Economic and Business Forecasting that since the Yingluck government took office back in 2011, household debt has jumped from 159,000 baht to 188,000 baht in 2013. So the public debt management also showed the public debt in the first quarter of 2011, which stood at 4.2 trillion baht, jumped to 5.2 trillion baht in the second quarter of this year, increasing by 1 trillion baht. He said these figures do not include the 2 trillion baht in debt that the government wants to push for the development of high-speed railway infrastructure. Democrat Bangkok MP, another one, Sanson Smalapha, said the Bank of Thailand pointed out that the country's economic indicators for every sector all show negative results, except the tourism sector, of course. Well, he said the downtrend will continue into September because of negative momentum, and they urged the government not to manage the economy by lip service or by giving lame excuses. Well, however, Pheu Thai spokesman Prampong Noprit said the party would assign MPs today to explain to the public about the price increases of LPG, electricity, and expressway tolls. I am looking forward to the explanation of the ruling party.
Well, the tension at the week-long rubber growers rally in Thailand's southern province, Nakhon Si Thammarat, intensified early yesterday when unidentified men opened fire on volunteer guards, killing one and seriously wounding another. The shooting came just 2 days before tomorrow's mass protest planned for farmers from 14 southern provinces in Surat Thani, raising fears that the transportation blockades could turn bloody. Tempers flared as the protesters suspect the attack was planned by state officials. Meanwhile, Governor Wirot Jiwarangsan and Major General Ronapong Saikeo, the provincial police chief, denied any involvement by the authorities, saying they had no policy to crack down on protesters. They offered a 150,000 baht bounty for the attackers. Ronapong also urged the farmers to give forensic police access to the scene. Wirot offered his condolences and said if what happened tarnished the image of the province, he was willing to be transferred out. Iet Khaimuk Seng Iet, one of the rally leaders, gathered protesters to control the scene and gave instructions for reporters to be thoroughly checked to prevent officials from sneaking in. The government must be held accountable for what happened, he said. Thawan Seniam, an MP for Songkhla, said police seemed to have jumped to the conclusion that the shooting was by protesters, but this has stirred up suspicion because police had not inspected the scene.
More than 80% of the people believe that the political reform process initiated by Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra will not be successful because the government is not serious enough to solve the problem and is just buying time, a survey by ABAC poll said yesterday. The poll was conducted between August 26 and 31st among 2,000 people aged 18 and above in 17 provinces covering all regions. Almost 70% of the respondents believed that the government's political reform move was for its own interest, while 30.9% believed it was for the people of the whole country. Almost 77% stated that the political conflict in the country was too high in intensity. Asked to suggest a solution, almost half, or 47.5% of the respondents said there was no way out.
The Cambodian government on Sunday warned foreigners to stay away from opposition protests against this hotly disputed election as thousands of riot police practice crowd control in the capital. And authorities and security forces would avoid potential clashes at all costs. And the government, in a statement released ahead of expected September 7 mass opposition protests against the poll results, all foreigners living in the Kingdom of Cambodia should keep a reasonable distance from all protests related to the election, the statement said. Thousands of Cambodian police officers armed with batons and shields were seen learning protest control tactics early Sunday in a park in Phnom Penh. Security forces were deployed around the capital in the aftermath of the July 28 poll in a move the opposition has decried as intimidation. Preliminary official results for the July 28 poll released in August saw incumbent strongman Hun Sen's long-ruling Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, retain power. But the opposition Cambodia National Rescue Party, or CNRP, has rejected the tally, demanding an independent probe into its claims that the election was tarnished by massive vote rigging.
The latest update from Selangor, Malaysia was not really fortunate this time, as there was nationwide crackdown against the unwanted foreigners began early on Sunday.
Authorities arrested 71 illegal immigrants and even confiscated a samurai sword during raids on squatter homes in Selangor early Sunday morning.
So, operasi di lokasi Bukit Raja, Kelang, seramai 110 orang diperiksa dan daripadanya ialah 50 orang ditangkap, 43 lelaki dan 7 perempuan, pelbagai warga negara Indonesia, Bangladesh, Myanmar dan Nepal. Kebanyakannya didapati tiada dokumen, tinggal lebih masa dan juga disyaki memiliki pas yang palsu.
The operation involved 150 officers from the Immigration Department, Police, Armed Forces, RELA, Civil Defense and National Registration Department. It marks the beginning of the largest nationwide crackdown on unwanted foreigners in the country. The operation was targeting those who registered under the Illegal Immigrant Comprehensive Settlement Program, or 6P, but did not turn up for further processing, including legalization and voluntary deportation. In Klang, Faizatul Abror from Indonesia was jolted from her sleep when authorities raided her squatter home in Bukit Raja.
Malam tadi, masa sebelum immigration sampai kan, akak tengah buat apa?
Tidur.
Tidur. Dengan minat tidur, sedap tidur lah.
Sedap tidur. Ingat ayah kasih bangun.
Iya ke?
Pasal sudah jam 5.
Lepas tu?
Tak tahunya dengar-dengar itu migration panggil. Migration.
Ada kasar?
Tak ada. Kalau kita tak buat salah, dia orang tak akan kasar. Tapi kalau dia orang membantahkan, kita pun sakit hati macam itulah. Kalau orang membantahkan, kita sudah dikasih keringanan sama orang sini. Jadi kita harus kita patuhilah. Pasal kita sudah dibagi keringanan 1 tahun kan. Program 6P itu.
Saravana says the first phase of the operation, which runs until the end of the year, aims to apprehend around 400,000 illegal immigrants and about 45,000 employers of such foreigners.
Dan operasi ini akan berterusan. Ini adalah permulaan dan kita memberi amaran kepada majikan lah supaya jangan dan tidak sekali mengaji parti lah. So kita akan juga memburu majikan seperti yang kita laporkan sebelum ni. So ambil kerja dengan cara yang teratur lah.
Saravana says that illegal immigrants would be deported immediately, while local employers can be fined up to 50,000 ringgit or face jail time of up to 5 years or 6 strokes of the rotan or all three.
Vietnam is currently strengthening its coastal security amid the South China Sea tensions. Find out more after this break.
Well, Kunvina, today is actually the big day for Vietnamese people, both in Vietnam and the diaspora community all over the world, because it's the Vietnam's National Day, September the 2nd. Back in 1945, President Ho Chi Minh declared independence from the French and Japanese imperialism. Well, let's see how Vietnamese community in Bangkok, Thailand celebrated their national independence.
September the 2nd, 1945 is an important landmark marking a major turning point of Vietnam. It was an establishment day of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam and is also considered the National Independence Day of the current Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Today is its 68th anniversary. For the Vietnamese diaspora community, particularly in Thailand, the celebration also represents truly traditional values and original Vietnamese culture.
กุญแจสำคัญของความสัมพันธ์และความเจริญรุ่งเรืองที่จะก่อให้เกิดความเข้าใจอันดีนั้นพี่น้องชาวเวียดเกี่ยวหรือพี่น้องชาวเวียดนามพี่น้องคนไทยเชื้อสายเวียดนามนั้นจะเป็นกุญแจสำคัญในการที่จะนำพาประเทศทั้งสองนั้นให้มีความสัมพันธ์สนิทแนบแน่นกันมากขึ้นโดยทางสมาคมมิตรภาพไทยเวียดนามนั้นจะเป็นตัวแกนในการที่จะนำพาท่านทั้งหลายไปทำกิจกรรมเพื่อให้เกิดความเข้าใจอันดีระหว่างกัน
Although I am not standing at the Ba Dinh Square, where the iconic national hero President Ho Chi Minh declared independence from the French and Japanese imperialism on September 2nd, 1945, marking the day of every year Vietnam's National Day. I am now instead at the Vietnamese and Thai Association in Bangkok, Thailand. Of course, how Vietnamese and Thai Vietnamese fellows celebrate this important Vietnam's National Day is also significant.
The newly Bangkok-based Thai Vietnamese Association is honored to have welcomed distinguished guests like the Vietnamese ambassador to Thailand, Ngo Duc Thang, Prachuap Chayasan, president of the Thai Vietnamese Friendship Association representing East Asian Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all of the Thai Vietnamese Association presidents representing northeastern provinces of Thailand, where Thai Vietnamese community resides. Kun Narong Thep Bunthom, Vice President of the Bangkok-based Thai Vietnamese Association, talks to us about Vietnamese community in Thailand and how the association has contributed to the bilateral relation between the two nations.
ในระหว่างช่วงสงครามช่วงนั้นเนี่ยก็คือค่อนข้างจะมีสภาพความเป็นอยู่ที่ต้องหลบซ่อนเราไม่กล้าเปิดเผยตัวเพราะว่าในยุคนั้นเนี่ยมันต่างเป็นสงครามที่เป็นสงครามต่างลัทธิกันนะครับยุคนั้นเมื่อ 30-40 ปีมาแล้วก็บรรดาพวกเราเองเนี่ยก็ลำบากมากเพราะว่าเกิดจากว่าเราได้ถูกจำกัดพื้นที่ณบัดนี้แล้วเนี่ยมิตรภาพระหว่างไทยกับเวียดนามได้เปลี่ยนแปลงไปมากแล้วซึ่งจริงๆแล้วมันเป็นข้อสัญญาระหว่างรัฐต่อรัฐที่เขาได้มีข้อตกลงกันซึ่งเดี๋ยวนี้ทุกอย่างสิ่งทุกอย่างเป็นที่เปิดเผยเนี่ยเราก็ขึ้นมาอยู่บนโต๊ะนั่งคุยกันไม่ใช่ว่าอะไรที่เป็นหลบซ่อน
One of the association directors, Thanaporn Janyawadi, also a Vietnamese living in Thailand for ages, told us how her fellows celebrate the National Day in Thailand.
คืองานในวันนี้นะคะคือความพิเศษก็คนไทยอยู่เชื้อสายเวียดนามเกิดที่เมืองไทยแต่ก่อนมาก็ไม่เคยมีสมาคม พอตอนนี้ทางการไทยกับเวียดนามให้ติดก่อตั้งเราก็ภูมิใจ เพราะว่าเราเกิดอยู่ใต้ร่มพระบารมีของพระมหากษัตริย์ คนเวียดนามอยู่เมืองไทยรู้สึกภาคภูมิใจมากค่ะ เพราะว่าพระองค์ก็ดีกับคนเวียดนามค่ะ เวียดนามก็คือบ้านเกิดแต่ประเทศไทยก็คือพ่อเลี้ยง
As a typical national day, Vietnamese have a daybreak from work to commemorate the event's historical significance. A notable sign for the cheerful spirit of the day is the appearance of Vietnam flags everywhere, coloring the whole country with lively red backgrounds and jovial yellow stars. The streets are exploded with the boom of red and yellow banners of celebrations and oversized posters of Uncle Ho speaking into a microphone back in 1945. There's also an annual marching on the Ba Dinh Square and fireworks in the major cities of Vietnam. September 2nd is truly an utmost special day for the whole Vietnam nation.
Let's go for the update of the security in Vietnam as the country is adding 3 patrol vessels to its Coast Guard to take a stronger stance in defending its territorial claims in the South China Sea. The move was announced amid diplomacy last week that saw China, which has grown increasingly forceful in stoking ownership of the entire sea, again spurring group negotiations with the 10-member Asean nations and insisting on individual talks with smaller countries. Meanwhile, the Philippines said that an invitation to President Benigno Aquino III to visit trade fair in China was withdrawn. Well, anyway, in conjunction with launching the ships, Vietnam renamed its maritime police agency to the Vietnam Coast Guard, signaling a greater role in enforcing claims of sovereignty in the waters off its 3,200-kilometer coastline. Training and funding will be increased. The Coast Guard, under Defense Ministry control, operates a fleet of patrol ships and 3 CASA 212-400 aircraft for monitoring Vietnam's maritime areas. In keeping with its standard policy, Hanoi did not say where the new ships launched last week came from or how much they cost. Well, Dong Dang Di, a former Vietnamese diplomat and analyst, said Vietnam's efforts to protect its sovereignty over Hong Sa Islands, known as the Parasols, and Trong Sa Islands, known as the Spratlys, will become increasingly firm and unavoidable, and the country is in need of more international support and cooperation. Well, Mr. D told the Wall Street Journal that after years of soft diplomacy, Vietnam cannot accept to be passive, and now is the time for it to make a stronger stance. Well, the Vietnamese Defense Minister Phuong Quang Thanh attended the annual ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting last Wednesday and Thursday in Brunei, where he held talks with U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel on ways to enhance military ties. Mr. Hagel accepted Mr. Than's invitation to visit Vietnam next year, the first Vietnam War veteran in his current role to do so. Mr. Thanh also visited the Philippines to boost maritime security cooperation, as both countries are on the front lines of confronting China over the waters. He recently completed a 2-week trip to Europe to deepen military ties and buy weapons from Russia, Poland, Bulgaria, and the Netherlands. Well, the South China Sea, believed to be rich in oil and gas reserves, has become a sensitive flashpoint between China's increasing military strength and its southern neighbors, some of which have encouraged an increased presence by the United States, Japan, and other countries as a counterbalance to Beijing. Japan plans to deliver 10 patrol boats to the Philippines. Well, in another move to assert its claims, Vietnam this week held an exhibition in Ho Chi Minh City to introduce a collection of 200 maps and documents published by Vietnam, China, and Western countries from the 16th century in 1933, bolstering Vietnam's claims of historical sovereignty.
Myanmar is planning to borrow $2.3 billion from China to finance its 22 infrastructural projects, including those of telecommunication, electricity, as well as construction. Other areas that Chinese loans can be used include agriculture, finance, and industry. A total of $646 million is to be spent in those projects during the fiscal year 2013 to 2014. The national projects for financial sector include a microcredit project to provide loans for small and medium enterprises and establishing an SME bank. Telecom project will distribute mobile SIM cards in rural areas across Myanmar. 5 power line projects and a natural gas power plant are to be funded with the loans from China. Yangon-Mandalay New Highway, public housings and other construction projects, including those of 16 new bridges, will also be financed by the same loan. Also for the 2 large-scale, low-cost housings, Yadana and Yarwan projects in suburban Yangon. The loans from Chinese Exim Bank will be used to cover their electrical expenditures, according to the Ministry of Construction.
Senior member of the State for Transport Josephine Teo of Singapore said it's important for Changi Airport to be connected to emerging air hubs within Southeast Asia. She said regional economies will improve in standing and, along with rising affluence, will drive air travel demand. Mrs. Teo was commenting on Changi Airport's expansion plans on the sidelines of an attempt on Sunday to form Singapore's largest human corporate logo. The attempt was organized by the Singapore National Cooperative Federation and involved close to 800 people. She said ongoing consultation efforts in finalizing the new Terminal 5's layout will help plan for future challenges in advance. Mrs. Teo said there is a deeper meaning behind the airport's expansion, that it is not just about bolstering Singapore's position as an air hub, but also about creating good jobs and opportunities for the country. She said Changi is much more than an airport. It is really through Changi that Singapore and Singaporeans stay connected to the world. So if we want to continue to open the paths to new opportunities for Singaporeans, as well as our Singapore economy, we must make sure that Changi retains its superior connectivity. On her promotion to Senior Minister of State for Finance and Transport, Mrs. Teo said it is an affirmation that her ministries are headed in the right direction. She said her priority is to ensure that plans already set in motion are implemented well. So that's it for Good Morning ASEAN. We'll see you again, same time, same place, same channel.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm Weena Jongpasit.
And I'm Patsurang Desha Purangsi. Swadee ka.
Swadee ka.